Hello and welcome to another 284 Media featured interview. I'm your host, Jhaka Wooding Donovan, and today in the building I have the newly elected president of the National Democratic Party, Mr. Paul Hewlett, to discuss the party's current endeavors and its plans for the next general election after this quick break.
We mash the gas, them bite the dust. We set the speed while they gathering rust. Inside we heart BVI come first. So please don't be fooled, cause they not like us. Once we mash the gas, them bite the dust. Cause we always fast and we always fuss. If you want a real speed, you know who to trust. Somebody better tell them they're not like who? They're not like us. CCT fast, like CCT fast, like CCT just generosity, love the community, bad like CCT first with the 5G, cause BVI is we.
Across the Virgin Islands, drivers have trusted VI Motors for generations. For 60 years, we've delivered dependable transportation, expert repairs, and quality parts, all under one roof. As a proud Napa franchise, our parts department carries leading brands like PPG Paints, Magic Accessories, Top Don Diagnostics Tools, Westlake and Goodyear Tires, plus reliable LTH batteries. Everything your vehicle needs to perform at its best. Our expert service department handles maintenance, diagnostics, and repairs you can rely on. And our vehicle sales team offers trusted Toyota and Honda vehicles built for island life. We proudly serve you at two locations, our flagship store in Dove's Bottom, Tortola, and our location on Virgin Gorda. From parts to service to sales, we're committed to you every step of the way. VI Motors, service beyond the call, serving the Virgin Islands for 60 years.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. And of course, Mr. Hewlett, thank you so much for making the time to be with us here today.
Great to be here. You can call me Paul. They all call me Paul on the ball.
Exactly, but I was, you came in a suit and tie today, so I was trying to be a little professional,
Still be professional, call me Paul. That's quite fine.
All right, Paul. Well, let's head straight into things. Of course, this is a critical time for politics in the Virgin Islands, and especially for the National Democratic Party. You would have become president uncontested at the recent convention. Could you tell us a bit about this process and, why are you fit to lead the National Democratic Party at this time?
Right. So the process is, it's pretty straightforward as far as Constitution is concerned. We are nominated by the district associations, each district association, of which there are 9. Each will put in candidates that they feel that is suitable for the position. And we held positions from president, vice president, secretary treasurer, as well as chairman and vice chairman, obviously. And I think it was 2 or 3 of the districts that saw me fit to be president, and there's no one that objected to it, so sort of slotted me straight in.
Mm-hmm. And why are you fit to lead the National Democratic Party at this time?
Well, I think right now where the party stands, we're talking about unity, and it is vitally important at this juncture in our society and in our where we stand politically, that the person who is leading the party understands the relativity and the importance of being unified as a party and ensuring that the people of the territory of the Virgin Islands also can visualize and see that the party is fully unified. And I think that I fit that whole position very well as far as one who shows unity, because I know all of the leaders quite well. I've known most of them for many years. I've worked at different levels. We get along very well. And having been involved in sports for over 40 years, I know the people know me. There's no part of the territory or sister islands where I go where people don't say, "Hey, Paul on the ball." So I'm known and understood by the people, and I'm known and understood and respected by our candidates and prospective candidates and our leaders.
Of course, prior to the convention, the interim president was Bishop John Klein. Correct. Are there any things that he started during that interim presidency that you intend to carry forward?
Well, To be quite honest, during his interim presidency, we worked quite closely together. And his job was not an easy one. It was really to get the convention off the ground. And if you recall, prior to the election, the big cry territory-wide was, what is the National Democratic Party going to do? Are they going to come with a full slate? Aren't they? Where do they stand and what have you? And that was the job at hand for the interim president. Prior to him, it was Troy Christopher, who had done a marvelous job and really understood the importance of the media and working along with other people. So when the interim president came along, he really had a one focus, which is just to get the party back together again. And as you can see, that's exactly what happened. Everyone came home, back to one family, which is what we're all about, one family. And everybody coming back. We're in.
Of course, at the convention as well, like you mentioned, we saw the election of a chairman and a deputy chairman.
Correct.
For anybody who may not be too familiar with the operations of the parties, could you just define the contrast between the role of the president and the chairman?
Right. So the president really is the one that works behind the scenes as far as ensuring that everything is coordinated, that all of the policies are in place. If we need new policies, we have a direct contact. We being the executive committee, with the president as the head of, we have a direct responsibility to the district associations. So there are 9 districts, each has its own association, and our responsibility as the president and my executive is to ensure that they all not only run smoothly, but they're all active, because no active association, no active party. The chairman's job is really a little different. He is really sort of like an ex officio prime minister or premier of the country. His job is to not to have to worry about the day-to-day runnings of the party, but rather focus on the people and ensure that he goes out and meets all people and understands what their needs are. And then through that process, then he will then work at a higher level as far as looking at the state of the economy, whether it be the roads or the schools or what have you. And so he's looking at it from a broader perspective, as a more overt perspective, whereas my job is really specifically to deal with the party and the party structure and ensuring that all our policies are in place and any coordinations and anything that happens, whether it be disputes, whether it be functions, whether it be, whatever, that is the responsibility of the president and his executive committee.
Now, with the party's internal systems sorted, its leadership elected, things seem to be lining up ahead of the next general election. What would you say are the priorities of the National Democratic Party leading up to that election?
Our priority still remains to be unity, without a doubt, to ensure that we are unified. And unification comes with understanding. And so therefore, prior to our convention, and let me say maybe 4 or 5 months before and going backwards, when people met me on the road or even you approach someone, their response was, "Oh, I don't want to talk about politics. I'm not going to vote in next election. You all do what you all want." What is happening now is when I walk down the street, I'm being stopped by the same people. And they're now saying, "So what are you all doing? Are you all unified? Are you all together? What do you plan to do for us?" And so there's a different attitude. The air, the whole perception of where the NDP is at has changed. People are now recognizing, because do understand that this country runs on a 2-party system, not 3 and 4 parties. Persons have attempted, it's never worked. And so you're either going to be one of the 2 main parties. And what happened in previous elections is that because we had split, we now became fragmented. But having come back together again now, persons have now come back in the fold, and the persons I mean in the general public, and they're now saying, "Okay, you guys are now a party again. Are you truly unified, and how do we move forward?" So that is the perception out there now, and they now want to know what you're going to do, how you're going to help us. And we're basically saying, listen, we're unified, we're looking at the situation, we're understanding where the economy is at, we're going from house to house, we're speaking to people, we are getting into the communities, we're working with the districts, and basically trying to ensure that people are now comfortable understanding that we held a convention, we went through the Constitution, it was 100% constitutional, and once we had fixed that and everything was done straight up constitutional, in fact the decisions were made by every single member. It wasn't just one person saying this is how we're going to do it. Every single candidate and prospective candidate sat in a meeting, had a chance to give their views, we listened to everyone, we followed those views, and that would have been the interim president at that point in time, not myself. And once that had been done, we put everything in place, the convention was run, and now the people are saying, aha, okay, now we can clearly see the other party that is there. Let's rock and roll. What do we do next? We're now ready to go.
You've mentioned unity a few times throughout this interview so far, and I know that is an area of interest for the public, especially when dealing with the National Democratic Party. Now, ahead of the convention, we saw the Alliance and PVIM come back together with the NDP, and I'm sure that was a very welcome move. You would have seen from your own supporters and from the wider public seeing the NDP come back together. But then following the convention, we would have noticed a bit of a, I guess you could call it a spat, taking place where following his decision to contest the seat of chairman and being unsuccessful at the polls within the convention, that Honorable Mark Vanterpool would have made his exit from the National Democratic Party. On the heels of that, what would you say is the current state of unity within the National Democratic Party? And are there any hopes of rekindling things with Honorable Vanterpool?
Well, on a note of correction, you said he is exited. Have you received a letter from him that he stated publicly that he has exited?
Well, we would have gotten comments from the former interim president.
Well, we haven't received as a party, and I am the president, and I'm informing one and all that we have received nothing in writing, nothing official from the Honorable Mark Vanterpool, that he has left the party. And as such, as far as we are concerned, he's still very much a part of the party until we're told otherwise. The unity is very much there. We are one, we are unified, we are ready to rock and roll, we are ready to get this thing done, to work with you, the people, to make this thing happen in our wonderful territory of the British Virgin Islands.
I'm sure that's going to be welcome news by many. Now let's look at the current chairman, Honorable Marlon Penn, who was successful at the polls. How would you describe your working relationship with him thus far?
I would say that the chairman and I are very much unified and we're very much synced. What I love about Honorable Marlon Penn is that he's very laid back in dealing with him. He's never up, he's never down, he's never hyper. And from the first day that we began working together in this new relationship, because we've been together before, I've never been more comfortable. He's not the kind of person that tells you, do this or do that, calls you on the phone extremely hyper, which I've had before in the past with others. He will call and say, listen, Paul, what do you think? And then if I give a suggestion and he's not sure, he said, well, can we have a revisit in that and have a look at it and see if we can do it this way or that way? And that's the way that we've worked. And I find across the board, that's the way that he does work, which is why I was convinced that working along with the Honorable Ronnie Skelton, with the Honorable Mitch Turnbull, with the Honorable Myron Walwyn, and with Honorable Mark Vanterpool, and let me not forget Shireen Flax, Honorable, and persons that who have been in Honorable House before, they will find it very comfortable, because there's nothing worse than having a leader that you can't reach, or that suddenly things are happening, you're hearing about it on the street or on the media before you're hearing about it internally. And no one likes that. You don't want to hear things on the street, something's happening in your house, right? You want the person to tell you straight up. And that is the strength and the power of the Honorable Marlon Penn. And because of that, persons like Ronnie Skelton and all the others, I don't want to call anyone's name again, but they will find it very easy to work along with him, and the cohesion will be strong. And these are a group of men and women that understand where the economy is at right now. They understand the teething situations that we're having, and once we work together as one team and one party, one family, united, which we are now, then the world is our oyster.
How prepared would you say the NDP is for the upcoming general election? You know, we're approaching the 1-year countdown to the date it is constitutionally due.
We are as prepared as anyone else. We understood our biggest challenge was unifying ourselves as one. And many a times I got stopped on the street and people told me, I don't care what you guys do, you won't get everybody back together again. When we got everyone back together again, they were like, oh, wow, well, you guys actually did it. We said, well, yes, we understand. We've been through 2 elections and it's proven to us that this is a 2-party system. And anyone that tries otherwise will learn the same thing, that this is a 2-party system that we have in our British Virgin Islands. And so therefore we recognize the importance of coming back together. Everybody put their egos to one side. Families always have spats, and what happens is that, I don't want to blame the media, but you know, people love to hear stories. And so therefore, they take a story this big and they make it this big. And they run with it and they'll take it all over the world, all over the globe. But the reality is that we are a party, we do have spats. Not everybody can be happy at all times, we understand that, but we understand that unity is key. And the only way we can be successful at the upcoming general elections is if we work together as one.
In preparing for the next general election, which voter groups do you think will be the most impactful for the NDP?
That's a tricky question, because voter groups, I mean, they're basically, to me, 3 main areas that you need to focus. 18 to 30 is one group. Then you have what I refer to as the rest. And then you have the pensioners. Those are really the 3 main groups. Out of those, the ones who tend to have the long-term power are the 18 to 30. And so common sense must prevail and tell you that we have to develop and work with the youngsters. That's what guys like Troy Christopher were really strong with. That's what we're really focusing on now, in working with the youth, developing social media skills, getting outreach to these youngsters where they're at. I mean, I was explaining the other day to our executive that what you will find when you're talking to a youngster, the first thing you say to them is, how can you all be talking to each other with a phone? I watched 3 youngsters last night playing hide and seek. Do you know how they played it? They each had a phone, and the others were hiding, and she was speaking to them on the phone. One of the children, these are all under the age of 9, and the others were hiding in the bushes or wherever, and she was looking for them on the phone. I've never seen it before in my life. I was just totally dumbfounded. And that is the mentality of that new generation of 18 to 30. We have to understand that, embrace it, and work along with these youngsters to ensure that they now understand what it is that we are attempting to do, and that we understand where they're at, and that we are willing to work and bend along with them. Because I know you haven't asked it yet, because the important thing we have to understand is that the youth are the future. And as such, if we aren't doing things that the youngsters want to do, we are going to lose them to other things. And a lot of times these things are things like drugs and other things outside there. So you really have to find a way that you can get their attention.
Now, you've touched on youth, but also within the youth and within the other age groups that you highlighted, there's populations of people who just feel disconnected from traditional politics. What's the plans to engage them?
Right. So that disconnection that you refer to really came for us as the NDP. Because we were disjointed ourselves. We were not a full party. Having done that, having put our structure back in place, and having now have our district associations in place, it now makes it easier for us to outreach, to go into the different communities, to have sporting events, to have fish fries, to have meetings, town hall meetings or what have you, and begin to listen to the people, begin to speak to them and hear what it is that they have to say. Understand that they're the ones that have to vote, not us. I mean, we all have to vote, but they're the ones who are going to make the final decision, the people. It's not about us, it's about the people. And so, as a party, we're really beginning to put these things in place now, where we're spending a lot more time and putting a lot more things in place, where we're spending a lot more time in the community doing the things that they want. And that really encompasses that age between 30 to 65, right? Over that, you now have the pensioners, of which we have a responsibility to look out for. And many times they get forgotten. And so we understand that it is important for us as a party that anything that we do, we incorporate the pensioners as part of that structure, ensuring that they get paid on time, they get paid what they're worth. Because remember, we wouldn't be where we are today if they hadn't done what they did 30 years ago. So we are the beneficiaries of what they've done.
Looking into the next election, what are the top 3 issues you believe are going to define the decisions that voters make?
I think there are a few things that we have to look at. The first top issue, I would say, is tourism. And when I say tourism, I'm not referring to the ships that come in every single day. Because you would have heard the Premier say time and time again that they have broken barriers and they've done better than they've ever done before. But that is per capita, per head of persons coming to the territory. So as a party, as a government, not as a party, but as a government, they have done very well based on the numbers of tourists that are coming on those ships. Where our challenge is that they're just here for a few hours, and many times you'll find that even all these things, Crafts Alive and these places, are not really making a lot of money. Look at when they come off the ship. They've already bought everything that they need on the ship. I counted them, over 100 passengers riding on bicycles. They went to Easton and back. When I checked and asked, they rented the bicycles from off the ship, rode them with somebody from the ship who led them down to Western and brought them back into town. It didn't cost them a penny, and we didn't earn anything from it. What we need to, when I refer to as tourism, first of all, is that we look at the hotels. Prospect Reef. It has sat there for many years. It's a sore thumb to all of us. And I know the present government is saying, yes, we're doing this and doing that. And I'm not here to hit them. I'm just here to state a fact. But they are just one of many hotels. Many years ago, for those who maybe have forgotten or don't know, we used to have a doctors' conference here every single year that brought in thousands and thousands of dollars from these doctors that came here. These are the same doctors who, many of them, if they themselves could not invest into our territory, there were persons that they knew that could invest into the territory. And so that, just from that alone, and then they would go and have their functions at Scrub Island or Peter Island, these places, and they spent thousands and thousands of dollars, all of which we benefited. Our taxi drivers benefited as well. Through tourism, sports tourism, years ago I brought the Buster Cup here. Up to today, taxi drivers still stop me. Hotels were full. We had people that were staying in St. Thomas and had to take boat rides to come and watch the game every single day. That is what tourism is all about. And when we talk about tourism, just to add my final point, it is vitally important that we understand that the bulk of the money needs to be coming from tourists who are staying here for 3 to 7 days minimum. Because they have to get up every single day, they're going to walk through town, and they're going to boost the economy. So tourism, for one, is vitally important. The next thing that I would say that is very important is education. Education is second to none. Now, when I speak of education, I am thinking about the private sector. If we educate our youngsters better, right, and to a higher level, and there's something for them to come back to, because many of them, when they leave, they don't return. We have to get on a boat and a plane and go and visit them, because that's where they're earning. We want to ensure that we can educate them to the point where they are and we can pay them, that they come back home. And what will happen is that the private sector will then begin to grow. And the larger the private sector grows, that means the small businesses are growing. When a small business in any economy is growing, the economy is making money, my brothers and sisters. Understand that. It is vitally important. When the small businesses are crying and that they aren't making money, is a challenge. So when you walk through town on a daily basis and you're not seeing a lot of activity with all those businesses in town, those are the small businesses. Those are the people that have to be able to make money. The final thing is the financial sector. We have to ensure that the financial sector is functioning. So I always have to say it's got to be 10, 15 years ago, maybe nearly 20, when we looked at the top 10, even the top 5. You used to see the Cayman Islands, the Virgin Islands being the British, right? And Guernsey in the UK. That is where the powerhouses were. That is where the money was being made. And we had all the IBCs here. We were making a lot of money. What has happened is that, the work that people like Robert McTavish, God rest his soul, who was my landlord for many, many years, I grew up with him as a child, with him and Robert and Algie and Alec and all the others in Lower Estate. Since they have put that whole process together in financial services and built it, now suddenly it has fallen apart. It's lost its edges. And we as a party have to ensure we bring it back to the level that it was and take it on to another level. So those are the 3 main things: tourism, education, and financial services.
Okay, well put. Now, looking at the current state of things in the territory, we spoke about voter groups, we spoke about unity in the National Democratic Party. What steps are being taken to rebuild public trust? Some people might just turn away from politics. They don't want to listen to it. Like you said, an election is coming. They're getting more involved now. How does the NDP plan to capitalize on that renewed interest to build public trust in the party leading up to the election?
Right. So not only is unity strength, but knowledge is power. So we understand that, for instance, a typical example, people were being fed and saying the wrong things after a convention. They were under the impression that the convention was a flop and basically everybody had walked away, which is totally untrue. We're stronger than ever. We are united. We are one family. And so what we understand now is the importance of us as a party, and for me as the president, to ensure that we keep the associations, the district associations, active, that we spend our time going from the north and the south and the east and the west, all of our sister islands. Never forget our sister islands, Virgin Gorda, Antigua, Just Van Dyke. Right? That we spend time in these places, telling them, working with them, learning from them, and ensuring that they understand exactly what it is that's happening internally in the party and what our objectives are. That our chairman and vice chairman and all our other candidates and at-large candidates will do to ensure that these beautiful Virgin Islands get back to where we were, from whence we came, and more importantly, go on to a higher level.
How will the party, maintain that kind of communication and connection with the community outside of the constituency groups and the visits to the communities, the town halls, etc.? I know Honorable Penn mentioned the return of the radio program.
NDP radio, without a doubt, is one of the things that we're doing. We also now, of course, have an active youth arm. And our youth arm is now taking us to places that we never thought about. So they're talking about creating videos that are going to be on YouTube and TikTok and Licklock and all the others, all these other wonderful things that we don't think about, and begin to promote all the things that we sit in the town halls and talk about, all the different meetings we have, the fish fries, the home visitations, the retreats, whatever it is that we're going to do as a party. Now our media is going to be actively involved, coming to you, putting a camera in your face and saying, well, what did you think? What was it your impression? And by spreading that and now them putting those things out there, you know, and let's face it, that major group between 30 to 65, they're all stuck on the phones just as much now themselves, although they fuss with their grandchildren and children. And so there's where all the learning and the development and growing and knowledge is going to come from, because knowledge is power. So for us, that is where it's really going to happen. Really getting out with the media, you know, and getting all the information out to the people. Like you say, outside of having the things which we've done before, we're now going to utilize all these new things that are out there that are going to help us to get the information out to everyone.
I know I'm certainly excited, and the public is certainly excited to hear the names who are going to be on the ballot for the next general election. I know we're still significantly far away from the election, so I'm not sure how soon we're going to get that list. But I'm wondering, are there any new voices in the party or any candidates that you're excited about?
There are a lot of new voices that we're excited about. The challenge is that we are just about to have our internal elections where we're going to choose candidates. So what if I should start to call names now, that would be rather unfair on the other candidates, because I'm now going to begin to boost other people, and they're going to be voted in by their districts. If everyone's watching me and hearing me calling, well, I think you should vote for this person. Well, subconsciously, that's what I'm saying when I begin to talk about these individual people. So we are very keen and excited about getting these names out. But at this point, unfortunately, if you had interviewed me, let's say in another month or so after our elections, then I can brag about them all. But at this point, I'm not in a position where I can do so yet.
Before we close, I just want to hear from you. What would you say is the biggest criticism that the NDP is facing right now? And what say you on that topic?
Right. So, and that's really simple for us. Our criticism has been lack of unity. Honestly, I mean, you said you've heard me say it a million times already on the program. But unfortunately, that is the case. That individuals didn't want to discuss politics. They didn't want to hear from you any longer because, oh, you all are never going to get back together as one party anyway, so why am I wasting my time listening to you? I mean, people that I knew that were really, really had a heart, and they would be calling me to talk politics, didn't want to discuss it anymore. But these people are now calling me again. They're now stopping me on the street, wanted to talk about politics, wanted to hear what we are doing. What are your plans? What are you doing next? Where are you going to go? What are you doing for me? The same people. So that excitement is back. The NDP is back. The family is back. We are united. The convention was a great success. And irrespective of if you're here and we're having little sprats and little disagreements, every family has disagreements. But we understand that this is a two-party system in this territory, and as such, we're going to fight and argue and then hug, kiss, get back together, and ensure that we are one party, one unity, one family, the Red family, for 2026, 27, whenever the Premier is ready to call it, to ensure that this economy gets back to where it needs to be.
Thank you so much for your time today, Paul. And of course, we will be calling you back after that internal election because we are so excited to hear who's going to be on the ballot for next year. Again, thank you for your time.
Pleasure has been mine and the parties on behalf of the National Democratic Party. I want to thank you and all the members of 284 for having me on today. Looking forward to coming back again, and a lot of love and respect to all our persons out there, those who are supportive of the NDP and those who are not, because we're here for the people, by the people, and with the people, for everyone, and we'll ensure that everyone is taken care of after the next general election. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining us today for this special featured interview. I'm Jhaka Wooding Donovan, and I hope that you stay tuned to 284 Media for more great content.